On today's episode of Full-Time Hustle, we talk about something that everybody who's married wants to talk about, and that's working with your spouse. A lot of people who are entrepreneurs have the opportunity to work side by side on a daily basis with their spouse or their partner or their significant other. If that's you, this episode's for you. And even if you don't work with your significant other on a daily basis, you have to have their support to be able to do what you love. We're going to tackle all that and more on this episode of Full-Time Hustle. You're listening to the Full-Time Hustle Podcast, an audio resource about life and business. Geared towards the creative entrepreneur, Full-Time Hustle is all about sharing time-tested methods and tips about everything small business related. From sales and marketing, all the way to accounting and client interaction, Full-Time Hustle covers everything you want to know about how to get things done. Turn your side hustle into a full-time hustle. For more resources, visit us online at fulltimehustle.net. Today's episode is brought to you in part by 17 Hats. 17 Hats is the premier online-based small business management software that does everything from invoicing to books to even keeping track of your contracts. Do what you do best and let 17 Hats do the rest. To get 10% off your first subscription, visit 17hats.com/card/full-time hustle. That's 17hats.com/card/full-time hustle for a free 17-day trial and 10% off your first subscription. Or simply apply the coupon Full-Time Hustle in your account settings. Thank you for listening, and we hope you enjoy the show. What is happening, everybody? Welcome back to Full-Time Hustle. I was told this week that I'm the only guy that still says, "What's up?"
Yes, that is true.
Well, I don't know what to say. I'm probably going to say it when I'm like 80. I've said "What's up?" since I was like 5. It probably wasn't cool then. It may not be cool now.
It's just not a thing people say anymore.
What do people say?
Anything but "What's up?"
Okay. I don't know what to say.
They say hi.
Hi.
They say hello.
Yeah, I'm not doing that. What's going on?
Anyway,
how's it going? Okay. Yeah, let's jump right into it. What are we talking about today?
Today we're talking about working with your spouse.
Oh, man.
Oh, boy. Here we go. Or significant other or a close friend.
Is this going to be an educational podcast or like a therapy session?
I think this will be couples therapy. We have a guest today. No, I'm just kidding.
That's funny. Is that our counselor that I don't know about yet?
As long as you just agree with everything I say, this will be fine.
Yeah. What's yours is mine. What's mine is mine.
Okay.
I love it.
Yep.
This is great. I'm actually really excited about this because a lot of people, here's the thing. If you don't work with your spouse, like directly in the job, you're going to work with them somehow because they're a part of what you're doing.
Yes. They either support you or they don't. And there's not really a lukewarm middle ground, because if it is that lukewarm middle, then there's actually probably not support there. So it's a very important thing. It's a very touchy thing for a lot of people.
Right.
We've worked together in multiple different businesses, and I feel like we've always had a great working relationship together. But I feel like working full time together in our home has been the biggest test of all. Yeah,
it's been fun. It's been amazing. It's been a struggle at times. I think the number one thing that we can say about each other is we do not have to guess where the other person stands.
Yes, but it was not always that way. I feel like sometime in the past 5 years, I was the one that would just kind of like stomp around and sulk and be like, "Ooh." But
what was that again?
But you told me very specifically one day, you're like, "I can't guess how you're feeling. You have to tell me." And so now I awkwardly tell you more than you ever want to know. That's exactly true. How I'm feeling.
Not really more than I ever want to know.
I mean, I think sometimes you're like, "All right, shut it down, Susan."
I think there's always room to work on delivery.
But here's the thing. You can okay. I do want to start out this podcast with a disclaimer.
Okay.
We do not have this figured out.
Nope, we don't.
This is not a "we have all the answers" podcast. And really none of them are, but we have been doing this full time together for 2.5 years.
Absolutely.
Running a business together, and we are still married, and we're both still alive.
And I can say that we're asking the right questions. We don't have all the answers, but we're asking the right questions.
Yes. So a quick recap. We've been doing this for 2.5 years together. Our office is in our home, and we are always up in each other's business. And then before that, actually, when we lived in Atlanta, we worked together in a company. We did not own the company, but we worked together as coworkers. And then we also, when we lived in North Carolina, we worked together. You remember where we worked together, Josh? It was a high-powered executive position. We delivered pizzas together at Domino's.
Yeah. I was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, that was our first time working together.
That's so funny.
And the 2 times where we worked in an office, well, not office, but at Domino's in Atlanta, we had to convince our bosses that we could work together and that we weren't going to like be husband and wife while working. And I think we did a very good job of following through on that.
Now, we didn't work at the same Domino's.
In North Carolina, we did.
In North Carolina, but I thought you were meaning Atlanta.
Yeah, no, in North Carolina, we did. Then we moved to Atlanta. We have delivered pizzas in many different states, guys.
And because
we had to pay bills.
Both bosses we had, I think, they were skeptical.
Of course.
And because who wouldn't be?
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, I think they both loved us. And I think that we were able to put, our relationship and personal stuff aside any and every time. There was never an exception. There was not one time where we brought any sort of drama into work. We showed up at work. We showed up on time, and we got things done.
Exactly. And I think we enjoyed working together too.
We did.
But I think those principles, like what you just said, not bringing drama into work and kind of separating that. When we show up to work, we're not married, so to speak. We're coworkers.
Absolutely.
And that is, I feel like, the biggest thing that has brought success to our working relationship in this business is that, like, of course, we're husband and wife, and we can't separate those. But when it comes to business stuff, sometimes we have to call each other out on things. And it's in love, but it's a business. And if we don't do that, then our business isn't going to thrive. And so, like, we have to know that we each have each other's best interest at heart, and that, if we do have anything businessy, work, negative to say to each other, it's not that we don't love each other. It's not a personal attack on our marriage or each other. It's just business.
Right. And let me say this before you jump into the really hardcore points of this episode. And I want to say this for this episode and really any other episode coming up. This is just kind of a framework that we kind of stay within. The things that we talk about on this show are not hard and fast rules. As a matter of fact, as it relates to business, there's not a ton. There's a few basic things, but there's not a ton of hard and fast rules. There's principles, and I love the word that you use, principles. And these are things to live by. They're applicable, but they're flexible. And these apply to different people in different walks of life. And they're not always going to be exactly what you need to hear when you need to hear them, but these are basic guidelines that generally, I think, work for the general population.
Yes.
So,
for example, a very practical example, if you and I are working together, that does not mean that we may not grab each other's butts at some point in the day.
That's true. That
was a lighthearted example, but we do that when we get away with it. Okay, so jumping in, I think this is the core of all of it. Is that one of the best things that has helped us in business is we respect each other and we're building on each other's strengths. So you, Josh, are really great at speaking, at selling, and that sort of thing. You can just walk out into the world and drum up business because you're going to make 50 people your best friend by the end of the day. And that is such an asset. And on the flip side, I mean, I can do that, but I really love the business side of things, at speeding up our workflow, at making our business more efficient. The other day, I was looking at our business books for the past year to see where we could save money, where we should allocate our budget for the year. And so knowing what our lane is and staying in our lane, we have jobs and we have a division of labor in our business. And I think it's really helpful. It gives us accountability and it makes sure that things don't slip through the cracks.
Absolutely.
Things still slip through the cracks, but we can I mean, we just had this the other day with an email that I think you had emailed me something, or I had emailed you. It was like a year ago, and we're going through an email trying to figure out who dropped the ball. And at the end of the day, we have some guesses, but we don't really know for sure.
Sure.
But, it was a good time to go, okay, so what had happened was it was something where one of us was in charge of it, and the other person wanted to take it over for the time being, and things fell apart because there wasn't any follow-up. And so it was really good for us to see, like, okay, this is why we stay in our lane. This is why we focus on our own strengths, so that the other one can, because if I'm constantly trying to do Josh's job, then I'm not getting my job done, and Josh isn't able to do his job best because I'm always in his way.
And let me just say too, I just want to admit this straight out of the gate, like, neither of our responsibilities are more important than the other one. Like, we know our strengths and we function in that and are really good with that. And I think if we didn't, things could be disastrous really quick. If all of a sudden you were in charge of meeting everyone, selling everyone, and then I was in charge of the bills,
then the bills
things would just,
it wouldn't be pretty for the bills.
You might be better at doing what I do than I am at what you do. Like, if we had to switch, you might be the one that survived.
You said it, not me. Well, I think because I did it for years on my own. I mean, you supported me in very major ways, but all aspects of the business, getting business, sending contracts, signing things, all the taxes and all that side of it, I did all of that. And so, yeah, I can jump in and do anything, but
it's good that
I like
we have
for
our
you to
roles.
stay in your wheelhouse.
Absolutely.
Yes. All right. The other thing, we're together a lot. So sometimes we just have to work separately, like separate locations. There's days where
that can be different rooms. That can be different addresses.
Yeah. It can be a lot of different things. But it's good to have that time away from each other. We love spending time together, and I think we do more than the average couple. A lot of people say, like, I don't see how you guys live and work in the same house and do all of this together. Like, don't you get sick of each other? And yes, but not as often as from what we hear that other people think they would. But
we generally both have things that have to get done, and we depend on the other person to get those things done so we can move on to the next thing.
Yes. And when we do get sick of each other, one of us leaves the house or both of us leaves the house. And
just to clarify, not in like an angry way.
No, like a working at the coffee shop kind of way.
Exactly.
A lot of times it's me because with video editing, Josh has like 50 wires coming out of his computer, and that's a little awkward at the local coffee shop. So
it can be. There's some, just a little side note on that. There's some pretty funny pictures if you just Google people editing in a coffee shop. I mean, these audio producers, seriously, audio producers have brought like their iMac and turntables, and like, I'm like, dude,
I have seen someone carry an iMac into a Starbucks. Like, I always thought those were like
unreal.
I always thought they were like made up pictures, like set up.
People do that, John.
I saw that in Newport News, Virginia, and I was like a guy was carrying it in a bag, like an iMac in a bag.
They make bags for them. You turn it upside down, put it down in the bag, and go. It's crazy.
Yes. They should not make bags that big. I mean, this thing was huge. I could have fit my children in this bag. And he's carrying it through Starbucks. And the interesting thing was, as long as I was there, he never set it up.
What?
I know.
What did he do?
I don't remember. I just remember that thing stayed in the bag. And I was like, I mean, come on, follow through, guy. Follow through.
Wow. Yeah, you got to do what you got to do.
I'm sure he had a reason. Okay. Another big thing that helps us is we touched on this earlier, we have really open and honest conversations. We try to do them about once a week. We don't have like a time on our calendar for it, but we need to know where each other stands. And sometimes for us, I feel like these conversations happen at night a lot.
Yeah.
When we're worn out and we're tired and we've put the kids to bed and I'm folding laundry, and maybe there are some emotions that have built up over the course of the day.
It's really good if you can have these conversations in the daytime when you're fresh, when you've had something to eat, when you've had your coffee, I know a lot of people.
I don't drink coffee.
I know you don't drink coffee anymore, but a lot of people do. I think most people do listening to this.
Yes.
And I think they would all agree that
It's
no bottom line conversations until we get the caffeine flowing.
But marriage is messy. Relationships are messy, and sometimes they happen. And, I think it's very important to hear each other out in those conversations. I know that, I hate it when it's like 10 o'clock and I can just see that we're headed down this road. But at the same time, those are some of the best moments because we really break through and talk to each other and get it all out on the table. Because sometimes there's things that we're biting our tongue about, but eventually it has to come out. And so it's like, well, if we're going to throw the gloves down, like, let's go for it and get it all out on the table. And afterwards, it's a hard conversation, but it's so good because I feel like we can move forward after that.
Absolutely. Now I know I'm throwing a little bit of a curveball at you, but let's just talk for a second to the entrepreneur out there who's doing this on their own. Maybe their spouse works a full-time job. Maybe they're not together and they have decisions that have to be made because the outcome of those decisions affects their time together. For example, let's say that we're talking about someone who is a wedding photographer and now they've got a wedding to do on a Saturday, but their husband or their wife has plans or they want to do something, and now all of a sudden we have this conflict, or now there's just this struggle for how are we going to balance, what you want to do and your passion and this really cool side hustle that you have. How does that fit in with everything? Talk to that entrepreneur for me just for a second.
You really have to decide what is most important. And it's not a hard and fast rule. Like we said, these are all guidelines. For us, we are very financially minded people. And we always have a financial goal in mind. And so for us, it's not that weddings or doing business always trumps family time, but we found that, if it's something that we can't reschedule business-wise, that if we said no to that moment in time, it would be a missed opportunity versus we can rearrange family time as long as we still have that family time. So for us, we live close to a theme park and we have season passes. Say we were planning to go there on a Saturday when the kids were out of school, and then a wedding comes up at the last minute and it's going to bring in, a considerable amount of income. Then we're in our family personally, we're likely to rearrange the Busch Gardens trip, or one of whoever's not doing the wedding goes to Busch Gardens, the theme park that's closest to us. Or we go on a different day, or we do a different week. And, part of that, like, it's really disappointing to tell the kids something like that, but not too much, because this is what's paying for.
I was going to say that's how they're getting to go to Busch Gardens.
Yeah. And so for us, we're just super flexible on those things. Before we were both full time in it, I think we're maybe a little bit unique in that we pretty much always put the business first, just because we very much are. I feel like we're pretty good at balancing family time, and we fit it in where we need to. And
people that know us, though, know us to be busybodies, that we get out there, we get it done.
Yes.
We work hard and we play hard.
We do. We are always going. A lot of times weeknights is when we kind of like just chill as a family, but I know like introverts need like the internal time alone to recharge.
Right.
And I think we need that, but we charge, my words.
It's all right.
We recharge a lot faster than the average person. And so I think you just have to really be on the same page with your spouse as to, like, what is most important at this season of life.
Right.
And there's times where I have just been like, you know what? I can't do another Saturday on this. I need to refer this out to somebody else. But then there's other times where I'm like, all right, cancel our plans because we're doing this instead. And so I think having those honest conversations before it actually comes up allows you to make decisions that aren't as emotional, that are truly best for your family, and setting those principles ahead of time. Mm-hmm. Because we will rearrange our family life to help a client, but not at the point where our family begins to hurt.
Right.
If it actually begins to hurt our family, that's when we stop it.
I think too, I think we can surprise ourselves about what we'll move around, what we'll rearrange, and how accommodating we can be when it really matters. Mm-hmm. So like if we are on the tail end of a slow season, or if things aren't picking up for the summer as quick as we thought they might, and that doesn't really affect our finances long term, but if we aren't on the route that we're supposed to be, if we're not on the projected the trajectory that we think we're going to be on,
like sales-wise?
We will all of a sudden move things around really fast to be able to take that last-minute wedding or that family session or that commercial shoot or whatever it is, because that's the nature of business. There's a give and take, there's an ebb and flow, and if things aren't where they need to be, all of a sudden that flexibility has to increase really, really fast.
Yes.
In order to stay on par.
A great example is, so I use the Power Sheets by Laura Casey.
Yep.
And they are amazing. This is my first year using them, so I'm only 2 months into it. But so far, I just love it because I'll set a monthly goal of one thing. And this month, or actually it was last month, my goal was to go on one date during the day with you, Josh.
Yep.
And it was... it seems so simple. We work from home together every day. So why are we not taking a little bit out of that day to go on a date once a month?
Right.
That's not a big thing. So I said, okay, this Friday from 9 to 12, we are going to do a date, and we have no idea what we're going to do, but we're going to do it. And 2 days before, I got a call from a realtor who really needed house pictures for a house at right in that time frame.
Right.
And we looked at other time frames, but really that was the best one. And I was like, oh,
so guess what?
Man. So we adjusted it by an hour, and I was like, you know what? This is something that I knew Josh would be okay with. It's not a touchy subject with us. It's not going to break his heart. And, we could do it from 10 to 1, and that was totally fine. And so whatever Josh would have done from 12 to 1 work-wise, he's just going to do from 9 to 10 now. And no harm, no foul.
Right.
But it's because I knew I could make that snap decision, because that's a principle that we're okay with in general.
Just to pause on this just 1 second, I just want to make sure we're resourcing our listeners really good. Laura Casey, who is she? What does she do? I've got her website pulled up so I can tell that, but give us a little background there.
Okay. Well, I'm not an expert. So everyone was talking about these Power Sheets, and it's this planner, but it's not like a weekly planner. It's a goal planner. And so basically there was 40 pages at the beginning of the year where you fill them out, just about everything in life. And you just feel like you're writing in your diary. And then you pull from those things that you've written and talked about and plan your goals for the year. And so it was really cool. It was just a different way of looking at goals. It was a very in-depth way. And so I have goals for this year that I honestly haven't even started on yet, because I'm starting on them in a specific month. And that has just, I don't know, it's just opened up my eyes. Cool. Yeah, that the podcast was a really big one to do in January and February. And, and so I skipped over some of the other goals in an effort to make sure that I got the podcast out and published and everything during these months. And
we'll reference this in our show notes, but the website is lauracasey.com. Those are Power Sheets.
Lara.
LAR, yep. And I've watched Susan work through these, and they are effective, but I will say this, even if they weren't, the amount of fire and excitement and passion that I see coming from Susan after she, spends time with those Power Sheets and writing things down and visualizing those goals, I think it's worth its weight in gold just for that. It really is pretty cool.
Yes, I love it. There's monthly, daily, weekly goals, and she gives you permission that you can change them at any point in time. That's
really cool. We're gonna wrap things up just like this. And Susan, I'm gonna throw another curveball at you. Oh, did I close too soon?
I had one more.
Okay.
Close into the other one. The book, The 5 Love Languages.
Yes.
That is so important. If you know your spouse's love language, or your partner or whatever, if you know their love language, it allows you to love them in a totally different way. For example, Josh is a gifts guy. He loves gifts.
And I do love gifts.
And if you love receiving them, you
I
also
love gifts. Our address is. Just kidding.
But you don't only love receiving them, you love giving gifts.
I think I like giving them more than receiving them.
Yes. I am not a gifts person at all. So I don't care if you give me a gift. It's nice, but like Josh is over the moon. And so he loves to give me awesome big gifts. I mean, we've been dating like 2 months, 1 month.
Yeah.
1 month, and you mailed me like $100 worth of clothes because I was out of town on my birthday, and you like overnighted them to make sure they got there on the exact day that morning, which means you paid for like the 10 a.m. delivery.
I did.
Which was insane. Yeah. Like, I didn't need a pair of shorts on vacation.
But man, that was so awesome, wasn't it? So romantic.
But at that time, I had no idea why this was so important to you. And now, I mean, we've been together, I don't know, over a decade and something.
Yeah, I was like,
long enough to not count anymore.
Almost 14 years.
14 years. And so, wow, we're getting old.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But now I know that like you love gifts. And for me, I don't need a gift. I just need you to do the dishes.
Yeah.
Like
that's a true
acts of service.
I know that's funny to hear, but that's so true.
Yeah. Like you can buy me whatever. I don't care. Like I'm going to add, I mean, I love your gifts, but you know, in the back of my mind, I'm going, how much did this cost? How much was this? Yep. And like, that's just the way my mind thinks versus, you know, if you will do the dishes for me and clean up after the kids, that is the best Christmas present ever.
Absolutely.
And so just knowing each other's love languages in that, you know, for me, if I send you an email, like relating to work, if I send you an email and you handle it pretty quickly, like that just is my love language all day long. Versus on the flip side, for you, you know, I feel like our Fowler Studios Christmas party is a big deal to you every year.
It is a big deal. And I love planning it. It's something, it's a gift that we get to give back to our employees.
Yes. And so I let you run with that. And if the budget isn't there, then I sometimes have to rein you in a little bit. But I try to let you just run with it because I know how important it is to you. And like having that sets the tone for the whole next year in your mind.
Absolutely.
And it's really great. Like, I feel like that's a really wonderful way to use your love language to care for our people that help us out throughout the year.
That's awesome. All right. I'm going to try this one more time.
Go for it.
Little curveball here. If you had one thing you could tell couples working together to wrap this up, one piece of it, they're standing right in front of you. They're like, Susan, give us one gold nugget.
Oh my goodness.
What is the gold nugget?
The gold nugget is communication. You have to talk to each other. I mean, we've all watched a movie where like there's this miscommunication and the couple doesn't talk to each other and you're like, no, that shouldn't happen in real life. It can
really solve so much.
Yes. Like there wouldn't be a movie because if they just talked. And so
that's so true.
Yeah. But that's why they call it drama. But it is like, we don't want our lives to look like a drama movie every day, you know? And if we can just communicate, it hurts sometimes and it takes a lot of time to work through things when there's hurts. But if you can communicate, you can really just do so much more.
That's awesome. Well, this wraps up another episode of Full Time Hustle. Please do us a favor. If you are listening on iTunes or Google Play or Stitcher or whatever website you've chosen, here's what I'd like you to do. I'd love for you to subscribe to our podcast. You'll get regular updates. You don't have to go look for it. It just pops up right there on your device or your computer, whatever it is you choose to listen to. And we would love reviews. Reviews help us out. It helps us get started. Like, I mean, we're still relatively new, and reviews are just such a valuable thing. If you want to see our show notes, you can head on over to fulltimehustle.net, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us. Full Time Hustle is a Fowler Studios production. It's produced and written by Josh and Susan Fowler with help from Joellen Anklam. Our theme music is composed by Valdi Sabev and can be licensed among many other great song titles at soundstripe.com.